What's going on, golf addicts? Welcome to the DFS DraftKings preview for the Rocket Mortgage Classic 2023 at Detroit Golf Club. DB here, finally joined again by my ever vacationing co-host Patrick Perry, who joins us from a beach in a Ritz-Carlton. Because why? Rich people, huh? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess.
good to
I
have you on.
guess. Well, I'm happy to be here, DB, and take away from my schedule, my busy schedule, vacationing in the
Yeah.
summer to be here. But yeah, it helps when when your lovely wife has a conference at a nice hotel that's only a couple hours down the road. There's the beach right behind me, DB. It's right there. Right,
Oh,
you can't
wow.
really see it. It's kind of bright, but anyway.
Yeah, that would be called a lot of backlight there. It's in the middle
Yeah.
of the day. We're having to do this at a different time. So no podcast juice other than I got some nice water right here. That's all I got. So no podcast juice. It might not get as off the rails as it normally does, but we do want to
Mhm.
talk about the DraftKings slate for the Rocket Mortgage Classic. A really ugly field, but a lot of good, interesting things could happen. A lot of ways to pivot when you pivot when you pivot in your DFS lineups, which is definitely what some people did nicely in DraftKings lineups last week for the Travelers. I mean, Keegan was definitely a pivot. He was surrounded by chalky 7K players: Russell Henley, Ricky Fowler. Actually, no, Ricky wasn't 7K last week. Was that last week? Maybe no. I'm thinking of the U.S. Open. Henley was in there. There was some chalk 7K range. I don't have it pulled in front of me, but there was some. There was definitely some. It was like Denny. Oh, it was Denny McCarthy, Henley, Corey Connors kind of caught some steam late,
Yeah.
and we were in the Nut Hut doing the Wednesday night live chat. And what's happened over the last couple of weeks is we've had some sharp listeners hop on the voice chat with us on Wednesday night and present a pivot play. And at the U.S. Open, the pivot play they were presenting and made a case for on Wednesday night for 15 minutes with me and Joe Idoni was Wyndham Clark, who went on to win the U.S. Open. And then last week, it was Keegan Bradley, who went on to win the Travelers. So, you joined the Nut Hut not for us.
No.
Definitely not for me right now. You joined for sharp listeners, great conversation, great community, and Joe Idoni's head-to-heads and finish position bets, which is up 27 units on the year, or our boy Lady Marcus's women's outright card that won 4 outrights.
Lady Marcus.
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
we ever called him Lady Marcus before?
I think I may have last week. I think I kind of dubbed him that. I don't know. Maybe it was something different, but I'm calling him Lady Marcus
I mean,
because
I'm still up for the year on my betting card, so
yeah, but you put yours. It's public too. I mean,
that's true.
it's public.
That's true.
You
How
don't
do
put
we get
anything exclusively in the Nut Hut anymore, Pat. And some people are saying that you're like the best, and you don't put
I
anything exclusively in the Nut Hut anymore. You've
I
like
I
given up.
no, that's not true. Last week, I though should I well, I actually, it's probably a good thing that I didn't put Keegan in the first round leader, which I did give out on a radio show, because then you would have just gotten your heart ripped out by Denny McCarthy, who I
Yeah.
feel like we got to talk about, because I can't believe we didn't talk. We went through the whole betting show and we did not talk about Denny McCarthy. Are you doing that on purpose? Because, you know, I don't know, DB. On Friday, you were feeling pretty good about it. And then talk about getting your heart ripped out. Denny McCarthy just said, "No, I don't really care about winning golf tournaments," because he'd
Yeah.
already done it to me. I've already had it happen. He lost in the I had him, and it was like 125 to 1. I
Yeah.
had him at the Memorial. He lost to Victor Hovland. This
Yeah.
year, he's
That was kind of my
rolling into
first.
the weekend.
Yeah, that was kind of my first round with Denny doing that to me. Heartbreaking Denny.
Yeah.
I mean, but at least it wasn't really even close on Sunday. I mean, by the
Mm-mm.
time when you shoot even par on Saturday at that golf course, whatever he did, 3 under on the weekend at the Travelers in benign conditions, I didn't even care. I love Denny. I had him in DFS, but yeah, at this point, I'm numb to the heartbreak. It's happening. Yeah, I don't know why you think I felt so confident after Friday. I mean, I was happy, but I did not
No,
feel,
you
I did
sent
not
me a
feel
couple
great.
happy texts.
Yeah, but yeah, I was happy.
Denny with 18 ends.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you did it.
Listen, sometimes it just feels good to get in the game. It doesn't.
No, I know.
I've been in the
Yeah.
game the last few weeks. I have Ricky at the US Open. Like, I've been in the game. I just still striking out, but I'm in the game. And whatever. Let's talk about last week. in terms of DFS stuff, because I did this last week and some people liked it. Maybe some people don't like it. Put it in the comments. Do you like it when we recap the previous week for just a few minutes in terms of like DFS and what happened, what we could learn? If you don't like it, put that in the comments too. Obviously, Keegan was important, and that's what we talked about in the Nut Hut chat Wednesday night. Was like, hey, Keegan's kind of getting squeezed here, 7 or 8% ownership, and we talk a lot about guys who are really. This happens a lot with this guys who are really good at ball striking, and the putter is terrible. But we know that putting is the most highly variance statistic. So we know that even those guys can have an average or above average week on the greens, and then boom, they hit, which is what Keegan has been historically throughout his career. But lately, in the last 3 or 4 events, he's actually not been hitting it very well with the irons, but the putter has been incredible. He's had a revelation with the putter.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the case that was being brought up on Wednesday night was like, well, what if, a lot of times what these guys can do is they can focus so much on one aspect of the game that other things, even that they're very good at, tend to kind of lose a little bit of the sharpness, right? And they kind of get out of focus and get out of whack, and they got to kind of go back and readjust. What if that's happened with him with the irons a little bit? But what if he begins to hit his irons like we know Keegan hits his irons, and also continues to gain strokes putting with the confidence that he had going in? And it made for an enticing pivot at 8%. And obviously he won. I mean, he gained 7 strokes with his irons and 7 strokes putting. 7 strokes, Pat.
Pretty good.
Actually, I want to see where that ranks in his best all time. I mean, the dude's got 311 logged PGA Tour events. That is good for 1, 2, 3, 4. It's tied for 5th for his best putting performance ever in 311 starts. But he's been putting well. So Keegan was an interesting pivot.
Do you know that he's done that this year already?
Where was it?
At the Farmers, where he finished second.
Torrey? Yeah, I mean,
exactly 7 strokes gained there.
So sometimes I think it's like something to remember when you see a guy who's doing other things well, but they're what they normally have done over a large sample size. I don't think we can really do this with like rookies or 2 or 3 year players, but I mean, Keegan is notorious for being a great ball striker.
Mm-hmm.
When that is suffering just for a few weeks, it could come back. And if the thing that they've always sucked at is doing well, and then they put it all together, like boom, you have a win, a pretty dominant win. Like I know he leaked oil a little bit coming in, Sunday, but I mean, winning any tour event by 3 shots, especially an elevated event, is really hard to do.
It's hard to do, and winning a golf tournament is hard to do. And I could see, like, when you have a 6-stroke lead basically going into the back nine, kind of losing some focus a little bit.
Yeah. Anyway, great pivot there. I mean, Keegan had to be in your lineup to win in tournaments, obviously, and it also allowed for, and this is a theme too in DFS lately, it allowed you to have some chalk. Like having the winner at 8% at 70 whatever 100 he was definitely allows you to eat some chalk in some places. The perfect lineup, now this isn't very chalky in terms of the perfect lineup, but the perfect lineup could have been Keegan Bradley, Patrick Cantlay, Rory, Brian Harmon, Chez Reavie, and Zach Mother effing Blair, who finished runner-up.
Can you believe Zach Blair?
No.
What? I mean,
I cannot.
And this kid, well, he's
we call him a kid. He's in his 30s. He just looks
I mean, but he just looks like a kid. He's going to look like he's going to be 60 years old, and we're going to be calling him a kid. And I mean, I thought he was done. I thought he was building golf courses. That was it. That was it for Zach Blair. But all of a sudden, he's either close or has his card now for at least next year.
Dude, yeah, you finish runner-up in an elevated event. I bet he's good.
Yeah. Yeah, he won like 1.3 million or something.
And props to him. Like this is what we talked about. And I beat the dead horse of Chez Reavie last week. There's one thing I was right about with Chez Reavie. When you come to a course like TPC River Highlands, Colonial, RBC, Harbor Town, it is going to allow these shorter hitters to contend a little more, right? And that's what Zach and Chez and Brian Harmon, who he was on your betting card.
Yeah,
that's what those guys did last week. Now, Cantlay was your course horse chalk, and he did what he needed to, he did what he needed to do to pay off. Rory was not super chalky, but he was a good value, and you just kind of, I mean, that was a good play there. If you would have had him in the perfect lineup, you'd have left $600 on the table, and your ownership would have only been around 60% total. But most of the winning GPP lineups had like 75 to 80% total ownership because there was some really good chalk. Cantlay was good chalk. Even Scheffler ended up doing what Scheffler does, kind of being Scheffler in top five. And Denny McCarthy was good chalk. Tom Kim worked out. Even Russell Henley, if you look at DraftKings points scored, Russell Henley kind of worked out too. Ricky Fowler ended up working out. Corey Connors caught some late steam. He did all right. Minwoo Lee wasn't really chalky, but he was 10, 11%. Minwoo did a lot of good stuff for people. Down in the low 7Ks, Eric Cole, again, ended up being pretty solid chalk. The only real, to me, like bad chalk was like Morikawa, and he wasn't even super popular. But Tommy and Siwoo, to me, were the two. They were the ones that screwed everybody the most. Mark Hubbard.
Freaking Morikawa. Morikawa screwed me across the board. I had 0, 5, or 6 of 6s, and it was because of Morikawa. And I just thought that I wasn't even worried about the cut with him. I thought for sure he was going to make the cut.
Yeah. Great round 2, though. Great round 2.
Well, yeah, wonderful. Yeah. Way to shoot, 63 in round 2, but,
there were
4 over in round 1. All right, I can't.
Bad on that golf course. Most of the winning lineups had Patrick Cantlay or Rory or Scheffler, a player in the 10K and above, one player in the 9K, and then 4 players in the 7K. That was kind of the structure. You didn't, I mean, other than obviously Zach Blair and Chez Reavie, you didn't have to have a lot of action in the 6K range, but there was a ton of value in that 7K range. And like I said, again, a lot of chalk. The chalk has been hitting a lot lately. And we talked about it last week with the US Open. There's more tools, there's more content, everybody's sharper, and it's just, some of it, now the decision is kind of understanding which of it am I gonna eat, and I think you got to pick your spots. Like this week is a weird tournament. It's a birdie fest. It's going to be a 25 under situation, which I know that one last week got to 23, but I don't know how. This is not a week where I necessarily would love to eat a lot of chalk, and if I do, I'm going to eat it up top with guys I feel confident about, even though it feels a little queasy to think about it. So let's talk about the top of the range. You got Tony Finau, your defending champion, Kyle Morikawa, Ricky Fowler, Max Homa, and Justin Thomas, all just in the 10K range, no 11K players. Then Tom Kim, Hideki, Sung Jae, Cam Davis, Keegan, and Harris English in the 9K range. Boy. So I think right off the bat, the easy fade for me is going to be Finau at 10-9 because the putter resembles nothing of even his normal average performance and baseline with the putter. It's been not good. And you could call this a potential putting contest. Obviously, he's going to fit the bill here from a bomber standpoint. All that's going to be good, but you got to make a bunch of putts to shoot 26, 27 under. You got to do that. And I don't know that I trust him for that. I'm not going to pay up for that. This might be a range where I just end up really, really nailing down on 2 or 3 guys and just being so overweight in ownership if they're chalky that I just – there's so many question marks to me in like the 8K range and even some kind of the high 7s. I don't think there's a whole lot of discrepancy between those players and guys in the mid and low 7s. I'm probably just going to lock up here and then sprinkle in a bunch of guys in the 7K. I don't know. What do you think up top?
Well, I agree with you on Finau. I think for me, I just want to know, like, could somebody tell me whether or not Morikawa shooting 74 last week was the Morikawa that we're going to have this week, or is it the one that shoots 63 the next day? Interestingly enough, if you look at Morikawa's stats putting, okay, he has gained 2 weeks in a row. He gained at the U.S. Open, and he gained last week, barely, 0.3 at the Travelers. The last time you saw him do this and gain in his 3rd event in a row was the Genesis last year, where he finished 2nd. So if you think that maybe there's a chance that he gains 3 weeks in a row, this could be a really good week for him. I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna happen. I feel like I'm gonna end up falling for the trap of Morikawa again because I'm probably gonna see a little bit lower ownership from him. Don't you think? Do you think his ownership's gonna be down? Like, all right, let's look at
Yeah.
these. I think there's 2 that you can compare here because I don't think I think Ricky Fowler's gonna have some chalk. Max Homa's definitely not gonna be chalky, but there's 2 players right here in the 10K, JT and Morikawa. I feel like more people are gonna jump back onto JT after last week's performance.
Yes.
And even though he was so bad at the US Open,
And he's
then
$600 cheaper.
then they are gonna be from Morikawa. So do you get a lot less a less chalky Morikawa with, the obvious upside he always has? Or are you
Yeah.
an idiot? Or could you be an idiot and play Morikawa like I probably will?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think JT will be more popular than Morikawa. I think Homa is easily likely the least owned guy in here, and I don't know that I want it. I don't know that I would touch it. Morikawa is an enticing potential pivot if he truly gets ignored. At the same time, like Fowler, I wonder. Fowler's a little. Is it crazy to think like maybe Fowler actually doesn't get that much love with that, considering the price jump that you're getting for Ricky? I mean, it's a pretty big. I mean, like the, and I know obviously the weak field and everything, and he's a Rocket Mortgage guy, but I just want like if Fowler's only at like, and I say only if Fowler's only at like 22%, and Morikawa is at like 15, because I think people are still. I mean, Morikawa is Morikawa. People still like the name Colin Morikawa. I would almost rather just like go like 50% Ricky.
Yeah.
I actually feel like Ricky's the safer play. And honestly, that's why I say like up top, the guys I end up getting on and liking, I'm gonna pound because there doesn't feel like there's a lot of safety anywhere in this field, but there's damn sure more safety up top if you're
Yeah,
gonna.
I agree with you there.
So I would be willing to eat the Ricky chalk if Morikawa is lower owned than expected. Then I could be with you. I might not be your buddy to talk you off the ledge on that one. I could get down. I, maybe that means like Tom Kim, Hideki, Sung Jae. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Keegan. I got a feeling there's going to be a lot of lineups that start with those guys and actually just completely ignore the 10K range and go, I'm not going to pay up for Ricky. I'm not ready to get right back on the JT train in case he hurts me. Is JT here kind of continuing to kind of look for more form? I wonder. He's never played here before. Yeah, does he take a week like the Travelers and just go, all right, I need to build on that again and kind of get some form before I have a week or two off here heading into the Scottish if he's going to play that, or the JP McManus Pro Am in Scotland, and then the Open. I don't know.
Or is
Maybe
he playing because do they still have that thing where you got to play every tournament? And so whatever.
maybe
Did they
yeah. I
get
don't
rid
know
of
if they
that
still
when
have
they?
that with all the elevated event stuff
Yeah.
being mandatory too. Like then you could get guys. I don't know. I don't know if they still have that rule.
I think Cam Davis is interesting. I know he's won here before, and he's, the following year after that, I think he was what, top 15? Yeah, T14 last year. And I think he's going to get low ownership because he hasn't been that great recently, and he missed 3 cuts in a row. But before that, he had the T4 at the PGA Championship, did finish T33 at the Travelers, in a birdie fest.
Yeah,
Cam Davis to me feels like somebody that you can get on this week. If I'm going to take a lot more risk in my DK lineups too, I think, because I just it's just one of those type weeks, and I think Cam's one of them.
I
He's
just
going to
don't.
have low ownership.
I don't want to risk it up here. His putter has been bad. Like, look at the trend on his putter. Overall, for his career, he's basically a dead ass neutral putter.
Yeah.
Last 20 tournaments, losing .8 strokes. Last 5 tournaments, losing 2. And just if you scroll and you look at his 2022 season, there's a lot of positive putting weeks right there. A lot of positives. But then if you look at 2023, very little positive.
No, it hadn't been good, but aren't they on bent this week?
Y Yeah, it's like they say it's a bent POA mix. I
Yeah,
don't know how much the POA is in it, this time of year. This is like a month. Isn't this like 2 or 3 weeks or a month earlier than it normally is for I don't remember why, but it's this
yeah.
event's earlier in the year. I don't know what that means for the POA, but, um,
Bent is his best surface, but it seems
yeah.
like I've read like in the Nut Hut, I went back. You posted it. Looked at Caddy John's notes
Mhm.
for the golf club or Detroit. And he did say that POA kind of creeps in a little bit, but um, I don't know. I think you're going to get really low ownership though on Cam.
Yeah, I think you will. I don't know how many people are gonna play Harris English either.
Yeah, I liked him on the betting card, so I guess I can't not like him in DFS.
It definitely does not feel great. I don't feel see, this is what I'm saying, like, at these prices, I just really I really want the more sure things, as sure as you could be in golf in this field, and that feels like I mean, honestly, Hideki feels like the surest thing to make the cut. Doesn't it not? I mean, doesn't it, right?
So, but here's the thing: like, if you're thinking about it, like, I want the sure thing. I mean, most of the field is not a sure thing. So, like,
No.
where do you? So then up here is what you're saying strategy wise. You just want to like try to get 2 guys that make you feel good and then 4 that are gonna make you wanna throw up. Like, I mean, like,
Yeah. Rather than all 6. Like, if I had I'm
maybe
not
what if
gonna
we
feel
wanna throw up 6 times, DB? Like, what
I
if we
I mean,
I
I'm
mean,
not how much better okay, like, how much better am I gonna feel about 9K Harris English with 3 consecutive garbage iron weeks and no real record to speak of here for any so, I mean, not much redeeming about him other than he's not a bomber, other than the putter in the putting contest, right? How much better do I feel about Harris English at 9K, okay, versus Patrick Rogers at 7,600 or Aaron Rye at 7,800? How much better do I really feel about what he's going to do? And I'm paying 9,000 for him against $7,800 Aaron Rye or $7,600 Patrick Rogers. Whereas if I just pay up to 96 and I get Hideki in the lineup, I at least feel like there are a number of tiers between Hideki and Aaron Rye and Patrick Rogers, right?
oh,
Or
yeah, yeah,
or
for sure.
Austin Eckroat at 8,000.
Yeah.
He's going to be stupid popular. So I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I would. I'm probably going to have two. I'm probably going to have two of Tom, Decky, Sung Jae, Keegan, and maybe Fowler. Those are the names I'm looking at. And obviously, I'll look at ownership and see what happens. But like Fowler's interesting. We talked about Keegan a lot on the betting show. I actually think Keegan is very enticing. I would hope that people bounce off as people tend to do with guys who win the week before. But Keegan's no rookie, no second year play. Like he's a multiple winner on the PGA Tour. He's won this season on the PGA Tour. It's not like it's not Wyndham Clark winning his first major and going ham and having to do all the shit that comes with that and like realizing that his whole life's changed. This is not a life changing win for Keegan Bradley. I would imagine he keeps it going. We're in the Northeast, and Tony Finau won this event last year, and the week before he won the 3M Open. So it can happen. It'd be crazy, but it can happen. But I don't need him to win at 9,200. But the safety that I feel like he gives me and the upside is very good relative to the price. And at least when I put him in my lineup, I go, okay. Like I feel like that one and whichever other one I do from 9K and above is going to give me two. I'm going to get two guys through, right? Now I got to figure out these other four rascals.
Yeah. Which is gonna be tough.
Hard.
It's gonna be
Very hard.
really hard.
Okay, 8K range. Let's get into the 8K range. I want to remind everybody to go check out DraftKings Reignmakers, people, because make it rain with DraftKings Reignmakers and get you a free booster pack when you spend $5 and you get it started. Get you some cards, open up some packs, do some stuff. Check out the secondary market. That's a lot of fun. Just click the link in the description of the podcast. Use code TJ when you do. Click the link, check it out. DraftKings Rainmakers doing the damn thing. It's a lot of fun. Season's coming to an end, so make your hay. Make it. DK Reignmakers. All right. 8K range. I'm not a fan. Like there's some names in here I like, but again, how much better are these names than a bunch of guys in the 7K? I can see my lineup construction being 2 9s and 4 7s.
Yeah, I think you're right. I was just kind of looking at it, trying to like quickly do in my mind the numbers here on how would it look if I do, a couple 9Ks and then drop down into 7Ks. And I think that's probably what I'm going to do. I mean, I think if I'm looking at a couple that I like in here, yeah, I think Ben On at 8,200 is
Yeah, he's one I like.
is pretty good. Yeah, I like Austin Eckroyd at 8K. I think, if you look at all the numbers for him, I mean, if you're running models, he's really going to check the box in almost everything. Um, so I think I'm going to eat the chalk on Eckroyd. I
And
feel like,
the chalk is coming, baby. Because
oh, it's coming. I know,
he
and I'm
he was 90. We talked about this on the betting show. He was 90-1 this morning on the first look betting show at 10 a.m. And he's down to 60-1 or as low as 33-1 on FanDuel as of this recording at 4 p.m.
yeah.
In 6 hours, he has steamed from 90-1 to that, which means he's going to be popular in DFS.
I think, yeah, I agree,
But
and
I agree. He is tempting chalk to eat at 8K.
yeah, and I'm going to. I mean, just look at the way he's been playing outside of the stats. He's got 3 top 25s in the last 3 events or last 4 events with a T30 at the Memorial. So the guy's just been on a great roll. He's the win is coming eventually. It's a good course fit for him. So I think Eckroyd at 8,000, I'll certainly eat the chalk. But him and Ben On are really my favorites. And outside of that, like, are you getting excited about Hadwin at 8,100?
No.
Not really.
And I've
Sepp,
tried.
Sepp is like, he's been really good. I mean, you look
Yeah.
at the last 4 events, he missed the cut at the US Open, but he's got, T16 at the Memorial, T7 at the PGA. I mean, the thing about Sepp is I feel good about playing him on a course like, at Memorial
Yeah.
or, at the PGA or, something like he plays really well in these harder golf courses. If we get into a birdie fest this week, I'm not sure I see like Sepp. Like, I feel like the price is actually deserving for Sepp. I don't think 8,300
Yeah.
Sepp is a stupid price for him, but I
I
don't
would
think
agree.
the course is that good of a fit for him.
I would agree. I think you're dead on there. I mean, Chris Kirk is right there too. He's like your course horse. He's got a really great record here. You know what I wonder about Chris Kirk? Do you think he won? I don't know. I'm probably reading too much into it. I just feel like a Kirk win back at the Honda that that you hit with the butterfly on your face.
Yeah, that was the butterfly hit.
I just feel like he's kind of let his foot off the gas a little bit since then. He just doesn't.
Yeah, we haven't really been excited about him.
But for a guy like that, that's what I'm saying. Like for a guy like that who hadn't won in years and had struggled to keep his card and had the whole addiction stuff, like that was a life changing win for him. That's where I see it a little bit different than for a guy like Keegan. But
Then I mean, also he hasn't made a cut since the PGA Championship either. He's missed
yeah,
3 straight cuts. So I think 8,500 is actually less justified for him than
yeah.
83 for Sepp.
I think you're going to get here on Wednesday and have a lot of leverage because Ludwig, everybody's pumped on Ludwig. And listen, we talked about him a lot on the betting show too. We kind of had different takes on Ludwig coming in terms of an outright winner. Obviously, a freakishly talented dude, and this course is probably one of the best courses set up for him that he will have played in his very young PGA Tour career. Like, he would be chalk that I would consider at 8,700, but I ain't going to consider it if it gets out of hand. Like, what do we actually think is like 20% Aberg would be like, whoa, I don't know if I
Yeah.
can do that. 17, 18% Aberg feels is starting to get to that uncomfortable zone. I just think he's caught a lot of steam as well. If Eckroyd gets that kind of love, that one's those are going to be tough decisions. Like I think Eckroyd and Aberg are going to be 2 very popular names in the 8K range. Maybe some folks hop back on Alex Smalley. He's been hitting it well again. We talked about him on the betting show. Smalley's interesting, but you're going to have some definite pivot options here. Jaeger at 8,900 feels like you're overpaying like crazy for a guy, but he finished 5th here last year. He's been slowed down a little bit of late. You're going to have pivot options with Jaeger, Harmon, who's coming off a good finish. Kirk's going to be low owned. Hoagie's going to be nothing. I think you're right. Straka's going to kind of get overlooked, and Hadwin's going to be low. And I think Benon probably low too. I think it's all going to go to Eckroat, Smalley, Ludwig.
Yeah, I agree.
So we'll see what to do there. I mean, in cash, I think Eckroat, if you're playing 50-50s or double ups, I think Eckroat's a lock along with Hideki up top. We didn't mention that, but
yeah.
I think starting cash lineups with Hideki and Eckroat. And then maybe Ludwig and cash probably too. I mean, I feel like the guy's going to make the cut. Just what do we just haven't seen a lot yet, even though we know he's talented.
How does Ludwig get up to 8,700, yet we can't get Mark Hubbard above 7,200 or whatever, who finishes top 25 every single week?
Except last week
Except for last week.
Except for last week. Well, I mean,
he's 7,500 this week.
DraftKings knows who the DFS community can't wait to play. I mean, yeah. This is going to be I don't know. I don't love this range, so I think you could avoid it altogether. Like I said, I mean, having a couple 9s and 4 7s is an option. Having a couple 9s, an Eckroat, and some 3 7s or a 6, maybe a high 6 is an option if you're constructing lineups. I do think Eckroat is probably one of the safer options in the range and a good value. So chalk worth potentially eating for next, for Thursday. All right, 7K range.
A lot of people here.
Yeah, and I don't know what to do with that. I mean, I mentioned Patrick Rodgers earlier only because Rodgers feels very safe. Rodgers is like the tour's condom. Like, he's the safest MFer out there right now. Like, I don't love him in a birdie fest. That's what this is. But dang it, if he's not going to just do enough because he's got the distance and he's got the putter, he's going to do just enough to make the cut and do his thing, which is exactly what he's done here in his 40. I mean, he's just the definition of a condom player. He's a Jimmy.
One of these days, somebody's going to let him take it off.
Let him raw dog it, huh? I mean, I will say 10th in Mexico. Love that. I mean, I think Mexico is, it's a bomber's paradise. It's a birdie fest. You get him there, but God, I mean, this guy's just. But in this range, in this field, like, I need a made cut down here. I need a bunch of. I need 3 or 4 of them.
Well, he's going to make a cut probably, more than likely.
And I don't feel like there's too many names in here that are going to be really chalky. Like all the popular names in here are all just, they still all have enough warts that I think it kind of spreads out the chalk, I think there's going to be a lot of that.
I mean, I think there's a few that you could look at. I mean, obviously tour winner Taylor Moore is interesting up there.
6th place here last year.
Yeah, I think.
Did he let his foot off the gas after he won?
I know, because he hasn't. You're right. I was just about to say, ever since that win, he hasn't been
like jobs locked up.
Very good at all. I mean, he makes a cut the PGA and misses 3 straight cuts.
Yeah,
I still think though in a field like this, you could see Taylor playing well. I mean, Justin Suh we've seen play incredibly well almost all season long. I don't think
it's hot.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to get off of Justin Suh at 7,900. I like Aaron Rye. You mentioned to him on the betting show. I was too afraid. I was too scared to mention him on the betting show. But I mean, come on, top 25s in 3 of his last 4 events. T24 last week, T3 at the Canadian, misses the cut at the Memorial, and then T12 at the Schwab before that. I like Rye a lot. I also think Rye is one of those, like, I don't know, I haven't looked at any first round leader bets or anything like that, but like he always feels like an early out the box guy. Like he's like when if you look at horse racing, there's always that horse that like jumps out. I forget what they call it, like the front runner, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Like jumps out of the box for the first like 200 yards and then they fall into the back. Like you think he got a great one in the Kentucky Derby and boom, he finishes last.
Like, and Iron Covers is out to a hot start out the gate.
Yeah, Iron Covers boom, T50.
Yeah.
But still, I think Aaron Rye is somebody up here I like too.
Yep. I like Rye. Um, so Rogers, I mentioned. I kind of I'm wondering if Bramlett will be overlooked because of his poor record here, but I definitely feel like Bramlett's game has kind of leveled up. He's had a good season. He's had a solid season. And so at a course that does seem to suit him, and I would suspect, I haven't dug deeply, but maybe I will. I would suspect that the form coming in this season is far better than it has been in the last 3 years here. He hits it a ton. I just feel like Bramlett could be interesting. I mean, 16th at Memorial, that's an elevated event. 19th at the Byron Nelson Birdie Fest. 10th in Mexico Bomber Birdie Fest. 13th at Torrey Pines Bombers. I think Houston, ninth place finish. That's a Bombers paradise. I just think Bramlett could be an interesting pivot that I think has, honestly, I think he has top 10 upside here in this field. I think he's got top 10 upside, and he hits the shit out of it. And then Gordon Sargent right there at 7,500 to me is like, and we debated this on the betting show. I mean, we know very little. I mean, like the amount of information and sample size we have on Aberg is slightly more than we have on Gordon Sargent, just barely. And we all love Ludwig Aberg, but Gordon Sargent still is highly touted amateur, hits it just as far, played at a great program, $7,500.
Yeah, he's going to be he's still an amateur, or they just haven't changed this.
Oh, I don't know if he is or not. Let's see.
Well, Fantasy National has him as doesn't have the A, but I don't think that. But I swear I saw the A. Oh, I saw it on the
He is still,
on
yes.
Data Golf.
Apparently, he is still an amateur. He is still the number one amateur.
Okay.
I guess maybe since Aberg bowed out, was Aberg one? Probably.
Yeah, he was probably one. But a couple more down here, like near the bottom that I like. I'm back on Lee Hodges this week. He's at 7,200. I think he's a good play. You just look like he kind of just checks a lot of boxes for me when you look at the stats for him. You look at the ball striking off the tee. Lee Hodges 7,200. I like. Man, I really want to play Luke List. Too.
Boy, we talked about him too on the.
I mean, you just look at his last few events. He's played well. I know the putting's always the deal, but he's actually, didn't you say he gained some strokes putting last week?
He gained 1.3 strokes putting, but he did it in one round. He did it in one round. But you're right. I mean, 16th at Memorial, 34th at the Byron in a birdie fest. And it's 7,100. It's not like you need him to top 10.
No.
I like it more for DFS than I did for your top 20 or whatever you were talking about on the betting show.
Yeah, I do like it there. And then Carson Young at 7,000.
Yeah, he's gonna be popular.
He is going to be popular, but I'll eat it. He's another one down at the bottom here that I'm going to eat some chalk on.
Akshay going to get it. I like Cam Champ at 7K.
Yeah, you talked about him on the betting show, and you kind of talked me into it because he's become one of those guys. Like I'll say this: when Cam Champ tends to pop up on people's radar, which is not all that much lately,
no,
but when he does, it seems to work out.
Yeah.
The only time I can think of where I thought it was a little bit crazy was maybe at the Masters. I thought.
Well, yeah, but he always plays the Masters so freaking good. I was just about to say that
not last year though, but he was catching steam. I mean, this year,
yeah,
not this year, but he was catching some steam. But whenever he's got that steam coming behind him, it tends to work out. It does.
I mean, he's got some good play here. And yeah, he can come out of nowhere on a course that allows him to open up the throttle off the tee, and this one certainly does. I think he's for GPPs, like there's probably no one. I mean, how high up in the pricing would you have to go? Let's do that. How high up in the pricing would you have to go to get a player that if they were in contention on the weekend, you would trust to finish it, maybe not outright, but finish it for a top 5, like high upside top 5 GPP winning, 5 or 6%, because he's going to get some love, 5 or 6, 7% possibly owned 7K player. Go up in the pricing and tell me the first player you come to that you would trust to get to that top 5 on the weekend over Cam Champ.
Over Cam Champ, I would probably say I think you got to get into the 8K range, and I'll work my way down there. I'd say Brian Harmon I would take over him.
Oh, God, no. What? Brian Harmon?
He just
Hell
finished
no.
second.
I know, but yeah,
I would take I don't know. I mean, you're talking top 5s here.
Yeah.
I mean, if these play like all being equal, probably a Tom Hoagie I would take over him. I mean,
Right
like,
now? Right now.
well, what is Cam Champ showing
I
right
guess,
now?
yeah, I guess
I
you're right.
said all things
Yeah.
being equal.
Yeah, you're
Like
right. Right.
Ben on probably not. No. Adam Eckroat maybe.
I feel like Eckroat, I was gonna say Eckroat feels like he might have that dog in him a little bit, and he's ready to
I probably would actually for
but I mean,
top 5, not to
you're basically
win.
excluding the 7K range, and he's at min price.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
Okay.
So I think Champ is an interesting pivot. I mean, Batia is going to get some love, which makes sense. D Woo is finally in the 7K range. Welcome to the 7K range, D Woo. He's been subjected to the 6K range. The Woo boys are going to get some love. Your boy Carson Young is going to get some love, which I mean, I like it. I definitely like this range. I think Luke List would be a pivot. I like Harry Hall right there at 7,100, who I think is also a pivot. Hits it a long way and puts the crap out of it. You just need the irons to do something and be decent for Harry Hall. So I like Harry Hall down there as an option as well. Anybody else? I'm gonna go. I got to figure out what I'm gonna do with Hubbard. He made me so mad. I do think I'm gonna go
You'll
back.
back to Hubbard.
Are you?
Yeah.
Shink and Stevens both interest me at 7,300. I think Doug Gim. If Mayo talks up Doug Gim, and Doug Gim is playing well, but if Mayo mentions Gim, which I can't imagine him not, because Mayo loves Doug Gim and he's playing well, so that might surge his ownership, and some pivots I think with some good upside would be Shink and Stevens. Poor Pendrith finished runner up here last year, and I don't want anything to do with him right now. He is off.
Yeah.
All right, that's the 7K range. Let's get to the 6K range draft, and we will button this bad bitch up. This is going to be an ugly draft. This is going to be ugly. I'll let you start, Pat, since you're on vacation again. You can start.
All right. Well, I'm going to start near the top here at 6,900. I'm going back in DB on Andrew Novak. I like him. I think, you just think about, some of his finishes lately. He's had some good ones. So, with that top 10 there at the Canadian, Novak, I think he's got a few top 10s this year, or two top 15s, or a few top 15s. So Novak at 6,900.
We had a very interesting discussion on Novak that I think is a lesson to be learned in general when it comes to handicapping golf. So if you haven't, go watch the betting show towards the end, and we have a good discussion on Novak. All right, I'm gonna go Vincent Norman, coming off of 3 missed cuts. I understand, obviously playing in the U.S. Open, big deal for that guy. I just think now we get to a place where he can open it up, similar to Cam Champ. He hits it so far, and we've seen some nice spike weeks from him. An 8th place at the Byron, 18th in Mexico, 16th in Corrales, 21st in Puerto Rico. You could find similarities in all 4 of those events to this place. So I'm gonna go Norman.
All right, I like that. I tell you what, DB, I think you're going to find this one interesting, but he has flashed some form lately. Finished T20 here last
Oh,
year.
I know who it is.
Colin
It's on my
Tarrant,
list. Colin Tarrant,
6,900.
Oh,
You look at his last few events: T33 last week, T43 at the Canadian, and then had a top 30 at the PGA Championship. I like Tarrant here at 6,900.
rekindle. Callum Tarrant.
Yeah, he was your love.
He was my guy last year, huh?
Yeah.
Couple different directions here. I'm thinking of going. Let me see here. Let me just, this is a tough call here. Now we're getting into the real
Yeah.
real scrub territory, and we need a good 6K draft. We haven't had one in a minute. Augusto Nunez.
I actually thought about him.
Did you?
I like that. Yeah.
Bomber, not a ton of upside high finishes, but solid finishes, Does well on the tracks where you hit it a long way. Torrey, Puerto Rico, Corrales. I think Valero, you can kind of open it up. Byron Nelson. Yeah, Augusto. He's pretty cheap. 64 hunch. I like it.
All right. So for my last one, DB, and we have not talked about this guy at all in a while, I feel like, and he was a darling for us. You talk about Taryn. This is a local guy. Grayson Sig is at
I was looking
6,700.
at Sig.
And we've had, he's been a guy that we've liked, and he'd fallen off a little bit, but if you look at the stats, they look good. I mean, he's top 25 in par 5 scoring, checks the box and ball striking, off the tee approach, and he's had some pretty good form lately too, with the top 20 last week, T38 at the Canadian Open. So I like Sig here at 6,700.
I like it. All right. Well, I'm gonna do it because we kind of have had a little ageism standoff in the betting show.
Yes, we did.
I'm going Jimmy Walker. Give
Okay.
me J Dub. Bomber, putter. I mean, the dude's had some great finishes. 14th at Wells Fargo, where you got to bomb it. 15th in Mexico, where you got to bomb it. 13th at Torrey, where you got to bomb it. Jimmy Walker. Let's get it. All right. 6K draft is Andrew Novak, Vincent Norman, Callum Tarrant, Augusto Nunez, Jimmy Walker, and Grayson Sig, the Augusta boy. Love it. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the week. Me and Pat will be in the chat on Wednesday night in the Discord. He'll be back from his vacation, right? Your second vacation in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I should be back.
Okay, good.
I should be back.
Good. So we'll do that. Sleepers video will be out on Tuesday. All the other regular goodies, the heavy petting email, the chalk bomb email, all that good stuff is all going live this week. And meet us up in the Discord. Link is in the description. It's only $19, $19.99 a month. Okay, that's easy. That's like $5 a week. I promise you will get $5 a week worth of entertainment out of this thing,
100%.
and probably win some bets if you tail the right people not named me right now. Okay, but it's got to end at some point. It's got to.
It has to.
It's got to end at some point. Why not now? All right, may your screens be green. See ya. Out.